Good evening and welcome to the Halcyon podcast. This is going to be a relatively short podcast on this occasion. A topic was suggested to me very recently, kind of out of the blue, and I've been dwelling on it for the last couple of days to try and get my take on the topic itself. Try and give it an interesting take, and hopefully impart some knowledge or wisdom, as is usually the way with these real talk podcasts. In my own pedantic and pompous way, I'd like to think I have something to offer the world in terms of knowledge, or to impart some kind of wisdom to the world. Anyway, on this occasion, I'm going to be talking about parenthood. Now, the reason I'm going to touch on this is very simple. For those of you who know me, I recently became a father. It's still a very surreal thing to say out loud, and it's still a very touchy subject for me in some respects, not so in others. But the reason why I'm touching on this subject is not the how and the why, because that's no one's business, quite frankly. It's the impact that it's had on me as a person and on a personal level. Because I often thought what it means to be a parent. You know, what is the love of a child? How does it differ from, loving your parents or loving other people, your brothers, your sisters, your spouses, whatever. And for those of you who aren't parents, having had some interactions with my little one, I'm going to try and sum it up, because I think it's important to tell people how it changes you. It's a little voice in the back of your head that tells you need to be better. You need to be the best version of yourself, because you have passed on some of yourself, and you need to nurture it. And you need to always be mindful of your child. You need to be always thinking of the future, always thinking of the best path and the best way to approach things, because you've got to think, what if my child saw this? What if my child did this one day? It's the most surreal thing in the world, because over the course of the last couple of weeks, I found myself in a number of situations where typically people know me. I'm a bit of a hothead, very emotional person, very passionate person, someone who wears their heart on their sleeve. And I've found myself, not through any personal change, but just the knowledge that I've got someone who's going to look to me as a role model, maybe not now, but maybe in a couple of years, who's going to need to see patience, who's going to need to see understanding, who's going to need to see someone approach things and the world in a certain way to be able to show them. I think society these days as a role does take the old adage of do as I say, not as I do. There's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of societal norms that are imposed on people but not shown. People live their lives in their own way and however they want. And to a certain extent, I can't say I didn't do that in the last 9 to 10 months. I carried myself in a way that I wanted to, in the way I wanted people to perceive me. And the biggest thing that's changed since becoming a father is quite simple. I now carry myself the way I want my daughter to see me. It's not going to be an overnight thing. I'm still going to trip. I'm still going to fall. But now I'm going to regret it if I don't carry myself in a way that I think is befitting of a father, because I want my daughter to grow up having someone that she can look to show a way of living that's better, to show to know that there's someone out there that's going to lead the life that she should lead in some fashion. It's the most surreal thing. I try to take pride in the way I carry myself now, because I think that that's what she would want if she were over my shoulder watching everything that I did. She's 2.5 month old baby. I think it's worth pointing out. I think so. She can't possibly know, but it's an interesting thing. It is almost indescribable. For those who have always asked, well, what's it like being a parent? It is very difficult to describe. It has to be said. It's a very weird mixture of happiness, pride, apprehension, because you're always. Every time I carry my daughter, I'm constantly worried she's going to break into a million pieces if I don't hold her properly. And every little thing she does is cute. I know that this is just me being overly doting as a father, but I can't say that the knowledge that I've had a child has not changed me fundamentally as a person to try to aspire to be better in everything I do. An example of this is recently I quit online dating sites. I made a Razor review recently of Plenty of Fish, an online dating site. And I got to the point where I was sick to the back teeth of not devoting myself, but devoting a tremendous amount of time and effort towards that application and to others similar to it, to very base and very simplistic needs. And do you know what? Having quit them, I feel a tremendous amount of weight lifted. The focus is now on a different aspect of my life, a different chapter of my life. And to be honest, I'm grateful for it. It's a very weird thing to leave it all behind. But I've got to be honest, people. When you finally have something in your life that's greater than you, and you know it, and you aspire to make it good and to make it whole and make it better, man, there are worse ways to live a life. And I'm grateful for every minute that she's on this earth. I couldn't be prouder of her. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And I felt compelled to make this podcast after a suggestion was placed because I wasn't sure what my take should be, the process leading up to it, what happened, how I feel about things. And I just thought, do you know what? I've looked at my parents and asked, and wondered what was different before or after you became parents. And now I know. And I wanted to try and impart that to the people that either are parents and hopefully they can relate to seeing their kid for the first time and realizing, wow, I'm never going to be the same after this. But I'm so happy that I am. And the people that haven't had kids yet and have this feeling to look forward to, trust me, guys, when that feeling hits you, nothing you've ever felt will compare to that feeling of looking your child in the eye and when they grab your finger for the first time. Oh my days, is it a feeling of feelings. Anyway, that concludes this particular podcast. I just wanted to try and, gushing father, shock. Anyway, I wanted to try and touch on that. The Halcyon review that's coming up, Knights of the Old Republic, I'm afraid it's probably looking like it's going to be delayed by a couple of days just because I really want to make this one good. And unfortunately, being a 40 to 50 minute episode, a lot of people are going to tune out unless it's really good from the get-go. So it's probably going to take a little bit longer to make. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Leave your comments in the comment section as well if you've listened to this and it struck a chord with you. I'm not crying as I'm, I was really emotional when I thought about this podcast, but I've thought, no, I'm going to try and deliver it straight, give you guys the real straight feelings and not gush about my feelings too much. My thoughts rather than my feelings, I should say. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for listening again. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.